Thank you for staying tuned to Channels Television and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, your midday wrap on some of the biggest political and related stories. I am Bukola Koka. First, the headlines. President Bola Tinubu confirms that the implementation of the new tax laws will go ahead as planned from January the 1st, 2026. Men of the Nigerian army arrest a suspected suicide bomber in Borno State. A former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, remanded in Kuje Correctional Center alongside his son. And welcome once again. The Joint Task Force Northeast Operation Hadinkai says it has recorded a significant operational success with the arrest of a suspected suicide bomber and the interception of materials intended for the manufacture of improvised explosive device IEDs in Borno State. Spokesman of the Theatre Command, Lieutenant Colonel Sani Uba, in a press statement, revealed that the arrests followed sustained joint operations and credible intelligence gathering aimed at securing Bunki Town in Bama local government area, conducted by troops of 152 Task Force Battalion in collaboration with other security agencies. Lieutenant Colonel Uba further revealed that the suspect is currently undergoing detailed interrogation to establish his sponsors, collaborators, and possible links with terrorist networks operating within the area. In a related development, troops deployed at the Cameroon-Nigeria border gate intercepted a Peugeot vehicle conveying 6 bags of urea fertilizer, a critical precursor material commonly used in the production of IEDs. Both the vehicle and the fertilizer were immediately taken into military custody. According to the spokesman, the troops have continued to dominate their areas of responsibility through aggressive patrols, intelligence-led operations, and sustained presence in order to deny terrorists the freedom of action and prevent attacks on civilian populations and critical infrastructure. And to the courts now. Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has ordered that a former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Abubakar Malami, and his son, Abdulaziz, be remanded at the Kuje Correctional Facility in the nation's capital. Mr. Malami, a senior advocate of Nigeria, is to remain in the facility till January the 2nd, 2026, when his written bail application will be argued by his legal team. The oral bail request argued by Mr. Malami's lead counsel, Mr. Joseph Daudu, was turned down by Justice Emeka Nwite.
The courtroom is filled to capacity as lawyers, family members, friends and associates of Mr. Abubakar Malami, a former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, take their seats to witness his arraignment. Straight to the business of the day, as 16-count charges preferred against Mr. Abubakar Malami, his son Abdulaziz, and his wife, Bashir Asabe, is read. They plead not guilty to the charges. With a plea of not guilty, the defense team, led by Mr. Joseph Daudu, applies for his client to be admitted to bail. But the prosecutor, Mr. Emmanuel Ihanacho, opposed the oral application on the grounds that a written application has been filed, which he is yet to respond to. After listening to the arguments, Justice Emeka Nwite turned down the bail request on the grounds that since a written bail application has been filed and served on the EFCC, the interest of justice will be met if EFCC is allowed to respond to the application as required by law. The trial judge then fixed the 2nd of January 2026 for the hearing of the bail application. A member of the defense team reacts to the ruling of the court as the prosecutor is unavailable for comments.
An oral application for bail was made by the defense, mainly on the ground that the alleged offenses are offenses that are bailable and that the defendants do not in any way constitute a flight risk and that in the circumstance, the court should exercise its discretion in admitting them to bail. And also fundamentally that under the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, particularly Section 162, does not provide that applications must be in writing.
The former Attorney General of the Federation and the two other defendants are standing trial for alleged money laundering offenses to the tune of over 8 billion naira.
To other matters now, President Bola Tinubu has again stated that the new tax laws scheduled to commence on January 1, 2026 will continue as planned. In a personal statement, the president insists that the reform is a once-in-a-generation opportunity to build a fair, competitive and robust fiscal foundation for Nigeria. President Tinubu assures all Nigerians that the federal government will continue to act in the overriding public interest to ensure a tax system that supports prosperity and shared responsibility. And going by that, undoubtedly, 2026 will be a year of taxes. And the mention of the word tax causes Nigerians to perhaps sneeze and catch cold at the same time. But is there really a problem as far as the implementation of the new tax laws is concerned? Is there any cause for worry? Are there more myths instead of realities? Of course, the chairman of the Fiscal Policy on Tax Reforms took time on Channel's television yesterday to allay those fears. And, doing that, perhaps there can't be enough of it. And that's why we've brought in Mr. Bala Zaka, a chartered accountant, to talk to us more about the new tax laws and the economic outlook of 2026. Welcome, Mr. Zaka. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, and I wish our viewers across the globe are exiting 2025. Happy New Year in advance.
Indeed.
Thank you.
A Happy New Year in advance to you, too.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. President has said the implementation of the new tax laws will go on as planned in 2026, in spite of the allegations of discrepancies between what was passed by the National Assembly and what has been gazetted, so to speak. So has that done more to erode public, confidence in the new tax laws, especially against the backdrop of the president saying, this is going to be done in the overriding public interest, and what is there is more reassuring than the concerns raised? What will that do to public trust?
Well, thank you very much. I want to start from this angle of the definition of leaders. Maybe in Nigeria we don't take it serious, or we don't really look at it in depth. When you talk about leaders, my understanding is this: leaders are those that other citizens elected then handed over their economic, political, and social interests into the custody of the leaders in national interest. And that's the reason why when leaders speak, citizens are supposed to take them serious. I went through even the 2026 budget, but like we said, whether it's the real, the gazetted, the whatever, but I went through it. And I remember there is, I think they were in lines numbered 1 to, I think, 39 or so. But there was this line 19. And this president, to me, that's the president, said, these numbers are not just accounting lines. They are a statement of national priorities. And that's how citizens take the written statements, the pronounced statements of their leaders. That one was enough for me, regardless of the questions and the concerns I had. He said, these numbers are not just accounting lines. They are a statement of national priorities. And that simply means when your leaders speak, somebody you handed over your economic, political, and social destinies into his care or her care or their care in national interest. Those statements must make sense to you. So from there alone, I now looked at of course, I've gone through the figures of the budget. And I noticed that, of course, the budget is supposed to be about 58 point something trillion. Then I just came down and I noticed that apart from the revenue that is about 34 point something trillion, the deficit is about 23 point something trillion, which is even more than the entire budget of 2023. And I started asking myself questions. Apart from the questions that I had, I felt I will hold my leader, my president, accountable based on just that statement on line 19. So if you look at it from that angle, I will not have any reason to be afraid of what the government is talking about, the taxes. I'm not supposed to be afraid, apart from even being a chartered accountant. And just for your, just for your personal information, Taiwo Oyedele, the person with that responsibility was my tax teacher when I was an ICANN student. And sometimes really, teachers will just graduate their students and send them out there, to the world to go and serve. So once in a while, it's also good to see your teachers, as we say in Nigeria, being panel beated. I saw the way, because it's literally like Nigeria versus Taiwo Oyedele or that presidential task. And to be honest, I was very happy with the way journalists like you were bombarding him. But I was also happy with his dexterities. I saw how he was answering. So
regardless of the fact that the House of Reps has not come out with its report yet on the investigation concerning the alleged discrepancies, you have confidence hugely reposed in Mr. Oyedele and Mr. 100%. President that what will be implemented will not raise any issues of concern for Nigerians, either in the private sector or in the public sector?
No, I don't. When we talk about semantics, what I saw was just semantics. The only thing is, in national interest, it shouldn't be happening. But what about the meat of the activity? Because what is going around at the moment is everywhere you go, an akara seller is feeling, whoa, akara seller, effective 1st of January. This akara you are selling, you are going to be taxed by government. You go to the barber is feeling, oh, I'm going to be taxed. Some people are even afraid, because they said, if my money gets to the bank, it's going to be taxed. So that level of sensitization, that level of education, I loved it, but there is a need to water down certain things. And he did so much yesterday. I may have my concerns, you may have your own concerns, but in national interest, we need to watch and see how it is going to span out.
Okay. Speaking of those concerns, Mr. Oyedele did do quite a job of work to dispel them yesterday. So how are you processing the promise based on the new tax laws that the vulnerable will be protected, that in fact the SMEs are going to have a time never so good when the implementation of the tax laws begin in 2026? And what impact really will that have on the real sector, when the implementation kicks in full swing?
What's going to happen is there is what we call progressive tax. And in progressive tax, the higher you earn, whether as an individual, a corporate body, or whatever, or you sell a property, you're supposed to pay extra. And considering the poverty index in Nigeria, human capital index, human development index of Nigeria, a lot of people will actually be exempt. The only thing is that the tax net has been or will be expanded, or has been expanded to take effect. I noticed that. But I keep also saying there are basic things you need to do. We've already defined leaders. There are certain things you need to do for citizens. If you lead citizens right, it is the responsibility of the citizens to make sure they live up to what we technically describe as civic responsibilities of paying taxes and levies and complying with the laws. So if you ask me as a Nigerian now, many people, whether individual or corporate citizens, are supposed to be in the tax net. But for somebody like me, the question I would want to ask is this. If the barber is supposed to be taxed, right? the next person that is supposed to have the saloon will be taxed. You know, the akara fryer will be taxed depending on their revenues. There are basic things they will want to see. What is the plan for energy provision next year? What is the plan? Are we still going to be described as a country of band A, band B, band C, but at the end of the day, everybody is like in band A? That's what I would want to see. To some extent, again, what is the plan, you know, in terms of healthcare? Yes, I'm a barber, I'm a hairdresser, I'm a vulcanizer, I'm supposed to pay tax. But when I have simple malaria and I go to buy antibiotics, how expensive will antibiotics be or look like? You know, if we are now in democracy, and I learned that with the present government, that there is so much money at the subnational, you know, but there are still no drugs at the dispensaries. You know, we still cannot find basic water. Well, so the question I want to ask, many Nigerians will want to ask, if these basic things are going to be provided, provide them and Nigerians will be happy to pay their taxes. Then most importantly, for hauling of goods and services, between you and I, the government, if you had asked me to rate the government, the economy, I would have said average. But now that we are experiencing, I am seeing positive signs because insecurity is probably being confronted. So that simply means probably next year, cost of food and moving of goods and services, if we do something about our rail lines, will be improved. So to some extent, Nigerians will really watch out for the kind of infrastructures that will be put in place so that they will be comfortable and will comply with their civic responsibilities of paying taxes and levies.
But hopefully, the implementation of the new tax laws will create more money in the pocket of the people at that lower rung of the ladder that you're talking about, such that they can afford more, drugs and other basic amenities. But I want you to point out those items on the new tax laws that will impact positively on the real sector, such that they have something to look forward to. And then those fears are allayed about the government starting to tax their accounts on January 1. That will be tomorrow. Well,
like you said, when you talk about hopefully, and this is where I personally have concerns with our leaders in Nigeria, when we remove subsidy on the price of distillates or petroleum products, it was the same description. You are going to have enough money, and hopefully you are going to enjoy X, Y, Z. Some of us even thought there was not going to be any need for national borrowing. As I speak to you today, there is probably technically no difference. The only thing we've been told is the subnationals don't always be asking or calling Abuja, Abuja, Abuja. Check your councillor, check your local government chairman, you know, check your governor. So the question is this. Like you asked, you said more revenues will accrue to government and a lot will go to the subnationals. I will be very happy, honestly, if somebody will help me to understand why we have not seen the dividends of the removal of subsidy, and so much money was generated and moved to the subnational. Though we were made to understand that the president said he is going to insist this time around, is it local governments or wherever, they get what they are supposed to get. So let us clear what happened to the first, hopefully, that we didn't see proper implementation. And when you talk about the current, hopefully, of course, where the tax net will be expanded, the truth is this: if you do not earn above a given value or up to a given value, you are not going to be expected to pay tax. And please, Nigerians, including me, or loyal citizens, should have it at the back of their minds. Nobody will go and block your account. So please, Baba, if you have not opened an account, if you were planning to boost your opportunities and open an account, don't be afraid. Mama or whoever, that money you are planning to be hiding in your bedroom or in your parlor, if possible, if you have an account, go and deposit it in your account.
All right. So you're saying that regardless of the exemptions from the tax net, all the other issues should be taken care of first.
They are the key.
Okay. Just to highlight that small companies with turnover of 100 million naira are exempted from company tax, exempted from 4% development levy. They're exempted from VAT, just to allay the fears of Nigerians. But let's talk about another item, which is, brings cause for optimism. 98%, according to Mr. Oyedele himself, 98% of workers in both the public and private sectors will have more income because of the reduction or perhaps total elimination of them from paying pay-as-you-earn tax, that's personal income tax payee. But the question is, what category really now begins to get a higher charge? Is it from those who are earning 3 million naira and above annually that gets higher charge as payee?
Yeah, the SAR explained everything yesterday. Anybody, whether legislators, myself, or whoever, will be talking now, will be talking within the context of what the SAR explained when he sat down with you. For me, what I just want is this. Whether you are talking about individual or corporate bodies, let the cost of operation go down. I want to see insecurity going down. I want a situation where profit before tax will look this big, so that if you say my tax is 10% or 20% or 30%, I wouldn't mind. I want a situation where if I'm involved with transportation or I'm involved in transport activities, by the time I haul my goods, because there are no rail lines from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri or from Lagos to Kano or Kaduna, by the time I haul and I use trucks and the bad and undulating roads, when I get to Lagos, or when I pick cocoa from Ogoro, from Ibadan to Maiduguri, the cost of transport due to the bad road should not be too high to the point where at the end of the day I will have little. What people want to see is infrastructure should be on ground. I wouldn't want a situation where you will tell me that these monies you are generating will be sent to the subnationals. Meanwhile, there is a malaria and I need antibiotics, and my family will tell me that, well, we can't get this in the dispensary or in the hospital. They have to go to a pharmacy or a chemist. And I go there, the cost of an antibiotic is prohibitive. Honestly, these are the things we want to see. And why was I talking about insecurity? If you have insecurity, then a country is going to be experiencing harm. And what is harm? Or what is a risk? A risk is the chances or the chance of threats taking advantage of your vulnerabilities to cause you harm. There could be political harm. There could be social harm. There could be economic harm. At a point, and that was why I said, even though I will rate the economy 2025 average, but at the twilight, I am appreciating the government, because if this taming of criminals or bandits has happened around March, that means we will have been happy to experience bumper harvest. You understand?
Yeah.
But it has just happened towards the end, which is very good. And many people didn't even travel home because they thought the kidnapping rate, especially in the northern parts of the country and some part of the southeast, was going to still be
a huge
all of a sudden, but everything is now down. But the farming season is over. All those terrorists made some of us and our relations to leave the farm produce there to waste. But come 2026, if this pressure is maintained and this guarantee of security is assured, then Nigeria is going to do better. And citizens will do better.
All those issues that you talk about, they're quite important. And if they're taking care of it, to be a big morale booster for Nigerians to pay tax. But it's equally important to also know, because when Mr. Oyedele says 98% of workers in the public and private sector will now have more disposable income because they'll be exempt from, paying personal income tax, or personal income tax for them will now be reduced. The question is, what is the percentage of income earners who earn above 3 million naira annually and above, and what will now be the percentage that will be charged them if their payee will increase? So perhaps there needs to be more education in that regard. Yes, clarity in that regard.
But let me also tell you something. To be honest, that percentage that is in the high bracket is not much. A greater part of the percentage is in the lower bracket.
In that income bracket?
Yes, but that tax net that they want to expand is what I'm more interested in. And when you come to look at it, honestly, corporate bodies were not really doing well, or they didn't do well. Companies were really shutting down. But I practice in the oil and gas industry and in the upstream. In 2025, many companies, both local and international oil companies, suspended their drilling campaigns and other campaigns to 2026. So the emphasis should honestly be on trying to guarantee more security, give them more hope, and if possible, let operating costs go down. But if that happens...
But another question that is uppermost in the minds of Nigerians is, does your transaction description have any bearing on your tax? For instance, I make a transaction that is about 1.5 million naira.
Yes. Well, we heard about that. And that is why there is so much in the air now. Like I told you, Taiwo Oyedele was my tax teacher. Whatever he said, honestly, even if a governor comes here or a legislator comes here or whoever comes here, whatever Taiwo said yesterday is probably most likely what I will take and see how other practical realities span out. But you see, we've not also spoken about one or two things,
30 seconds, we must wrap up now.
Yes. When you look at the budget projections, the expectation is that the revenues will come from oil, non-oil, independent, then government-owned enterprises. I saw the projection on the price for crude oil, which is like 64-point-something dollars per barrel. I think to me it was too optimistic. We'll have played with a figure of like 55.
Lower because of the reduction in
exactly. No, certain things, certain dynamics may happen, the relationship between the U.S. and Venezuela, U.S. and Iraq, then when you look at the production also, while crude oil and condensate, will be like 1.8 million. We didn't achieve something near that this year, even though we had that rig count rising. So we needed to be more conservative. I think that was what I expected.
We must wrap up now, and thank you so much, Mr. Bala Zaka. Thank you for coming on the program and providing your professional insights. Mr. Bala Zaka is a chartered accountant. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And that's it. You have been served today's edition of Lunchtime Politics, and indeed the last for the year. But we'll be back again tomorrow, January the 1st, 2026. And ahead of that, Happy New Year in advance, everyone. I am Bukola Koka. Bye for now.